What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode number 296 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. I want to say a big welcome to our new listeners from Serbia. That brings our total up to 80 countries. Thanks, everybody, for sharing with your friends all around the world. And I want to encourage you, if you haven't, just like, subscribe, follow, and share links to this podcast. You can get our curriculum of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon in either paperback or ebook. Again, this episode is number 296 of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast, and it's entitled Closure, Make Peace with Your Past. And this is the first of a two-part series on finding closure. And to me, those of you who've worked with me in person know that I'm not really a big fan of the word closure because to me, the word closure brings pictures of that's closed, it's done and dusted. But I personally feel like the door's always ajar, the door's always slightly open. And I've had lots of contacts from people recently about closure, about relapse, people who've been in positions of authority in recovery centers and things, relapsing and what that means. So I thought I'd take this episode and next week's episode to look at some thoughts around closure, and hopefully it'll help all of you. And I think there's a reason why people avoid closure, even though finding some sense of closure is important. It's actually crucial for lasting recovery. But I think people avoid it because they don't want to accept that a relationship or a career is dead. Or perhaps they fear change of any kind and they fear new beginnings. And so closure to the past would mean a new beginning, and that brings fear. Or some people get stuck on that resentment, I guess, where we just say, look, what happened to me was wrong. I can't forgive. I can't make peace with that. Some other people that I talk to are not interested in opening up any old wounds, and they're only interested in a quick fix, sort of a one-time conversation. Let's just talk through it, or let's pray through it, and then hopefully I'll be good to go. And finally, I've had people say to me, you know, David, you've told me to stop looking back, and now it feels like you want me to go back there and camp out. So, what do we do? Well, I think the key is not to seek perfect closure, right? Really look for processing what you're going through. So, what sort of questions do we look for when we're looking for closure? I think we look to answer the why me question. The why did this happen to me? If only I could have done something different. If only the other person did something different. And I think it's important in this to acknowledge your feelings and give yourself permission to feel. And that in itself is not closure, but that's reality. I think as people seek closure, they're also looking to find the cause of the situation and circumstances and trying to figure out how to process the experiences that they went through. Sort of what happened. Were there patterns of behavior that was going on that I was sort of blind to? And what was my role in the whole thing? So really sort of trying to get answers to the cause and understanding for what was really going on. Other people seek closure to get free from self-blame or the feeling of failure or the woulda, coulda, shoulda things. Some people seek closure to find emotional healing. They want to find peace through understanding and the feeling of a changed perspective where they can change the narrative of what happened. And I just want to say, sometimes I've worked with people who didn't work on closure at all. They just wanted to hurry up and move on. Well, this week's episode deals with making peace with the past as part of closure. Next week, we'll deal with moving on. And I think making peace with something means you've become resolved to it. You've reconciled in your own mind. You've come to terms with something. The dictionary says that you've accepted or become resigned to something, and you've reached an agreement with another person or within yourself. Well, what does it really mean to you to make peace with yourself? The actress Sandra Bullock once said, "I've made peace with the fact that the things that I thought were weaknesses or flaws were just me. I like them." I think that's a perfect example of making peace with yourself, right? She spent years hung up over certain aspects of her that she viewed as flaws in comparing them to other actors and actresses. But she reached the point where she said, hey, they're just me and I like it. So I want to ask you, do you want to just feel peace or do you want to make peace? Because if you don't make peace with your past, it will affect your present and destroy your future. I look at making peace as sort of a three-step process. As we try to make peace with our past, the first step to me is to accept our past. It is what it is. We can't undo it. We didn't cause it all alone. It doesn't mean you're a failure. We all live with certain things that just can't be undone. I've lived with cancer I'm in my 5th year now, and it just is what it is. And I have to accept that and not have it redefine everything of who I am. The second aspect of making peace with your past is to learn from it. Sort of, how can I be better prepared? How can I learn discernment for the future? How can I grow in wisdom? How can I put some things in place that I can make sure that I don't make the same mistake again? How do I look at how I was vulnerable and deal with my vulnerabilities so I can't be so easily manipulated as I was in the past? And then a third aspect to making peace with your past is to reach that point where you're ready to move forward, where you're willing and ready to let the burden fall to the ground. There's no lingering self-blame. There's no lingering negative thoughts or emotions, and you're ready to move forward. And again, next week, I'll dig into that a little bit deeper. But it's important that we're going to dig into moving forward because we have made peace with our past. And that's so, so critical. We can't get that out of sync or out of order. And I'd like to close with this quote by Maya Angelou. She said, "I've learned that no matter what happens or how bad it seems today, life does go on and it will be better tomorrow. I've learned that you can tell a lot about a person by the way he or she handles these 3 things: a rainy day, lost luggage, and tangled Christmas tree lights." I love that quote. You get it? There's stuff that happens in all of our lives. There's rainy days. There's lost luggage when you're on a trip. There's tangled Christmas tree lights when all you're doing is focused on getting the tree decorated. But how do we handle that? No matter what happens, no matter how bad today seems, life does go on and it will be better tomorrow. And I think that's the key in making peace with your past. To realize that if today is the day that's rainy, if today is the day that it feels like your luggage is lost or the Christmas tree lights are tangled up and you can't untangle them, it is what it is and it will be better tomorrow. Can you come to peace with your past? Can you intentionally make peace with your past by processing your thoughts and emotions? Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you were saying that's me as you listened, then it's time now to reach out and join a group. You can message me on the link in this podcast or by email at david@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.froma2d.org, and click on the contact page. Keep listening to future podcast episodes, and especially next week as we cover the second part, the moving forward, moving on part of closure. And as always, stay safe and stay resilient.